so much for agreeing to be a part of our Conversations from Home initiative. We're so happy to have you here. Just to introduce you both, we have Alice, if you'd like to give a little wave, and Bel.
Hi.
And they're from Rocketbox Theatre. So I'm just going to kick off and ask you guys the first question. Who are you? Who is Rocketbox, and what sort of theatre do you guys produce or aim to create?
Correct. Do you want me to do it, Belle, or do you want?
Alice, you shoot.
Thank you so much. So Rocketbox is actually 8 people. We're a big company, and we've kind of been together for about a year now. We're all graduates from the University of York, so we all graduated about last year, like a year ago. Whoa, crazy. And we're kind of made up of a group of producers, designers, actors, directors, literally everything. Like we've got a whole mix of people, and we all kind of we're all kind of working together to create to kind of tell stories that embrace the live. I think that's our kind of tagline, is we find stories with a pulse and we embrace live, because most of our performances are about 80 to 90% all sort of live music, all originally composed by us. We have 2 amazing musicians who are Elle Hibbert and Harry Brewer, who kind of do all of our music for us. And that all kind of happens on stage. We kind of use stand-up, circus, spoken word, slam poetry, dance, cinema. It's all kind of embraced in one thing. It's a whole like concoction of madness. So I think it's what we kind of use to say what our shows are like. And we kind of started with a production of Alice Bel's Many Moons.
Yeah.
So a whole year ago, this was for a theatre festival called Crane Gate React. We took it there. We got an amazing response from people. We ended up winning an award for it, which then allowed us to take that on tour. So it was a bit of funding as well with that. So we've only just completed it before coronavirus happened. Very luckily, generally, we kind of had, it was like 2 days later, everything was shut. Well, we were in Bath before at the Rondo doing a performance there. So we've just done, so we went to Bath, Bristol, we did London, we did York and Penzance. Penzance was rogue. It was a...
Wow, I love Penzance.
We went so south.
Yeah.
Was it?
That was the first ever performance we'd done as well, wasn't it? We hadn't done a performance of Many Moons since we'd left uni. So it was about 9 months later, and we sort of rocked up at Penzance, and we were like, oh, wow, where do we start? And it was a massive theatre, wasn't it? How many? It was
like a 180 seater, and we were just like, this is insane.
Yeah, it's been brilliant though. The tour was such a journey, and I'm so happy we did it.
Yeah, and then we managed to also, we're meant to be this weekend, Belle. We're about to start our first ever 3-week run at the Pleasance.
Oh wow.
And our get-in is meant to be this weekend. I realised it the other day, and that's obviously not happening. So who we are is basic. I don't know, have I missed anything, Belle? Have you got?
No, I think that was exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, I think that was pretty much.
You guys are the first company we've spoken to that has more than, I guess, like 2 people.
3, yeah.
3, exactly. So you guys are the biggest company we've spoken to so far. I'm sure its advantages. It must be so great. Besides, I guess, the artistic side of all of you guys having different skills, but also like as a company to have so many people involved, especially graduated together.
Yeah, it's great because it just means we can have you can really divvy up everything quite easily. And with just doing so many things, we've got so many people who can do like marketing. We can do, because we've got a graphic designer as well. Like we can literally every sort of role is so easily done.
It's collaborative, isn't it? It's kind of, no one's really got a set role,
and there's no sort of leader either. Like it's all sort of, we kind of say it's a non-hierarchical theatre company, because everyone plays their own part, and they're all equal in their own part of how much they play. So yeah.
It's a very collaborative space.
Yeah.
And so you guys were you had plans before this all sort of unfolded. I guess that's sort of a good lead up to the next question, I guess. Now.
Yeah. So on that, has there been anything during this weird old time that has stood out to you, motivated you as a company, kept you going, whether it's something you saw, something someone said, an interaction you had, anything that surprised you or stood out to you?
Yeah, I think for me, just the genuine positivity has stood out the most, and the passion from so many different companies and artists who are writing and sharing their work digitally. And it's been so amazing, and I've stumbled across so many great companies that I never even knew existed before this. I think in particular, one of our biggest motivations was our collaboration with the Sunflower Foundation, which has kept us all motivated. And this is a wonderful foundation set up by an amazing artist called Bytes. And she's created something called the Sunflower Skills Club on Instagram, where artists, companies, or just anybody really can share a skill. And it ultimately is run through a kind of donation process where you can sort of donate how much you feel. And when we first started our digital season, we were super motivated to sort of do anything we could in order to help this foundation during this obviously really rocky and uncertain time. So yeah, I think that was the starting point, wasn't it, Alice, for our sort of season?
Yeah, I think it's great seeing with the Sunflower Skills Club. I think the fact it's grown, so it's been about 4 weeks, I would say, and they're already almost at 500 followers.
Yeah,
Instagram, which is insane for it literally being launched like a month ago. Yeah. And it started off just being like basic skills, but now it's just become like this community of people who are all just like very out there to support each other. They're doing sessions where they collaborated. House of Rhymes, they did a whole night of spoken word poetry, which was insane. And then it's just like the creativity that, like, Beth literally does a morning where it's called Weetabix, and it's a morning where she just like spins she just like DJs for breakfast, and it's just her like with all of these lights around her with a DJ set, just like playing tunes for like an hour, and it's so good.
It's crazy. It's so good. It's brilliant. So that was kind of our first motivation to sort of do this season. We've not even spoken about the season. I've just realised I've probably just skipped, jumped to the next point. Which shall I talk about our season? Which probably leads me on to, well, we've started this kind of digital season called Rocket Bytes. And we've been originally, I think the first 3 weeks were people from our company, or 2 weeks, where they've kind of, two amazing company members have created one radio play and a spoken word piece. And then we opened it up to other artists, students, because obviously this is a super horrible time for students who are in their last year of their degree and they can't share their work live. So yeah, we've kind of been producing small pieces of work that people have written, created. Alice, do you want to?
Yeah. So I think, so the digital season basically, it's we kind of taglined it storytelling from the comfort of your sofa. And it's basically pieces of audio theatre that we've created. We kind of get these scripts from people. So the first 2 were from our company, who had already got these pieces that they'd done, and we kind of like worked with them and added our own music, added our own sort of just Rocketbox style to it, and then just released them onto our YouTube and all our socials for free. And then we kind of opened it up to other people as well that we know of, that we just have, because we do it all in a week. I think that's something we need to stress with some people, is that we get the script on a Monday, divvy up the parts, record it by Tuesday, Wednesday, and then someone sits for about 48 hours at a computer on Audacity/GarageBand and just kind of edits it together. And then an illustration is done by the Friday, and then it's put in a video. Then the first draft is done on a Friday, notes are done on a Saturday, and then it's put in a video, released on Sunday evening, ready for a premiere on Monday at 2. It's a very hectic.
Yeah.
We took a week off last week, which honestly I needed. Like, it was.
I mean, we sort of feel the same way. Obviously, with 2 of us, and it's a much smaller production, but it's sort of because we're 2 of us, we feel the same with all of our sort of deadlines. It's funny because people obviously see the final product, but if they knew how rigorous we had to be with everything, Monday, candidate that. No.
I think it's because especially because we've only been out for like a year, we needed this momentum to like keep us going, to like just to stay creative, because you don't want that thing of just kind of stopping, which people can do, and that's very fair to not feel creative at the moment. But I think for us, we're a group of like creators. We love the actual action of making things and doing things, and I think if we didn't have this, it would be very hard for us to get back into it again. So this sort of like every week we're in our mindset of going, how are we going to do this? We need a windstorm. How are we going to make a windstorm? It's just like this, like, I don't know. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think as well, going back to the question of what stood out to us during this time, we, Many Moons, which is a fantastic play, focuses quite heavily on the theme of isolation and loneliness. And we as a company are super interested in this theme and what it means to people and us. And we did set out to do an R&D in January, didn't we, Alice? And we were kind of thinking on how we can expand this theme and how we can write a new show with incorporating this sort of theme of loneliness and starting this conversation. And then obviously when this sort of pandemic hit us all, it was kind of like, oh my gosh, this is real time sort of isolation, loneliness. How do we connect? How do we get our work out? How do we use this, and really kind of put it into full swing? And it's really interesting because this is kind of what we had been talking about anyway, isolation and loneliness and how people cope. And then it sort of hit us all, and we've all been we've all been hit by this kind of global pandemic, and it was really interesting because we had to use our work to sort of get it out there and connect, and how do we reach people.
Wow. Also, going back to what you said,
some really, so many. Go ahead, Em.
No, okay, you froze it a bit. Technical difficulties.
I said, go ahead.
Okay, all I was going to say was what you said at the start, Bel, that I think it's so lovely that you found motivation from another company. Like you found it from what someone else was doing as well. So it just becomes this, like we've said this as well, this huge like little buzzing, to use our branding, buzzing little hive of like creativity and artists. So yeah, I'm sure that Sunflower Skills Club would love to know that spurred you guys on. And so yeah, I just think that's really lovely.
Yeah, me too. It's been such an amazing time.
I was just going to say the same thing, because so many points were mentioned that really stuck out to me. But the one thing that really did was this idea of connection. I think we keep on saying that we were surprised that had the pandemic not happened, would we have had all these conversations with these companies that we might necessarily not have known so much about. And it's really great to hear things like, I guess it's sort of like a chain. We've heard of Sunflower Skills Club from House of Ryan's chat last week, and that just goes to show how actually the pool that we sort of work in sometimes may seem very big, but actually it's so small, and it's so important that we're sort of kind of just building from one another. And it's great to hear what you guys are doing about Bytes. And is that something that sort of is inclusive for all? So it's on platforms for people to sort of reach out and listen to them or view them and everything.
Yeah, it's on SoundCloud, it's on YouTube where it's captioned as well, and we have the ability to send out transcripts for people as well if they have hearing issues. So it's all quite accessible, and we're trying learning as well to make it more accessible, because we've just released a survey as well out, kind of just asking for feedback, because we've done 4 pieces now, very kind of in like 4 weeks we did 4 pieces, and we're kind of aware that there could be things we could change about it as well to make it better, improve the experience for people. So like this survey's there to kind of get that feedback and make the changes that we do need to change as well.
That's amazing. Well, I'll just swift along to our next question, which is basically, what dreams do you guys have for yourselves as a company, however big or small they may be, post the situation now or even beyond?
Ooh, that's a really tough one. I think I think I'm one of the producers of the company, and I think for me especially, I think we've got to look at everything quite differently now. And as a producer, like my headspace is always in like what's happening in the future, what do we need to plan for? So like something like funding, artist schemes, venues, stuff like that. That's like always in my headspace. And now I think we have to kind of change that, because obviously it's not there at the moment. Like literally the day before Arts Council funding, we were a day away from submitting an Arts Council application before it closed, but they stopped doing them. And that was like a moment where we were like, oh no, this is what we're going to do. Because I think we were planning on getting Arts Council funding for our R&D, to kind of for our next project, and it's now like, where do we get this?
It's so funny because we were literally in the exact same boat.
Yeah. And it's talking to other people as well. Everyone was in that position of just kind of being like, how are we going to now afford, or just like like the fact that you don't have money is just so heartbreaking to even not be able to do it. So I think it's all about keeping our spirits up to try and figure out new ways to find the creativeness to like spur us to do it. And yeah, stuff like that, I think. I don't know, Belle, have you got anything?
Yeah, I think for me, it was, my mindset changed so much when sort of this lockdown happened, and I kind of shifted from thinking about Rocketbox's personal journey to sort of all of these theatre companies, and kind of everyone is in the same boat. And what's really stood out to me from this digital season is this kind of collaborative sharing and supporting network, because I've been quite shocked actually, and so pleasantly surprised. It's been so amazing. So I think to constantly be working on content and collaborating with other companies, constantly sharing work, that's definitely going to be one of my priorities moving forward. Taking it from just our individual sort of Rocketbox's journey to sort of opening it up to kind of how do we make this a platform for lots of people. Obviously I think we're hoping to return back to London with our run, so that would be amazing. Fingers crossed. I don't feel like Many Moons is over. Hopefully not. We've worked so hard on that show.
It's been like a whole year now. We've been on that show.
Honestly, since we graduated last June,
yeah,
with the show, and by the end of, well, it would have taken us 2 years to fully finish kind of our tour and our residency. So we had no idea it was going to be for that duration of time, but you know, it's how it's happened, and it's quite cool, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure the world will still be wanting to see, like people are going to be craving, you know, and I think you have that mix of sort of work that's relevant to the time now, but also people will want to see things that are different, things that don't necessarily have to do or do in different ways, you know. So I'm sure that it will have life post corona.
And like personally, I totally want to be having my eyes open for when we're allowed to go back to this and stuff, to see companies saying this is the project that we were meant to do. I totally want to go and see those projects that were meant to happen, because probably if they were happening, if this hadn't happened, I may not have caught it, but I totally want to give that like energy and time to going and seeing postponed, because we don't like to say cancelled, postponed shows, to give them, I don't know, double the amount of like love that they deserve. So yeah, totally. We'll be there when it's
come on guys.
Appreciated.
Pleasure.
I completely agree though. I totally agree with what you were saying about this kind of like surge of like unison, like this support. It's just, I find it really, like, I feel honoured, to be honest.
Yeah, like
this, yeah.
If you go through like, because my Twitter feed especially is just all theatre, like it is just, it's all theatre people, and you could just see it, especially yesterday, it looked like all of the theatres decided to kind of hit the government.
Yeah.
It was a massive sort of, you knew they all planned that. All all the big theatres in the UK went, we're going to do a lot of Media Storm today. And I think that's just like so good. I think especially as well, I think seeing how smaller theatres, especially what you guys are doing in like small emerging theatre companies, making like doing these, becoming so supportive of each other and collaborating with each other, because I feel like we rarely kind of see these platforms where emerging theatre companies kind of get together. It's usually you see sort of bigger companies who've been there for a while, like like Barrel Organ and Rash Dash, like they are all people you kind of see doing these sort of collaborations with each other and podcasts and talks, but you never really see it from an emerging artist perspective of what they're going through and what they're kind of living with right now, because like it's just not a perspective that's spoken about. It gets talked about in terms of like student theatre, what are they going to do, but it's not that people in their first like 2 years don't have the funding, who aren't as supported, who don't have the long list of credits, they don't have that, but they still want to be achieving things and creating. And so, which is why I think this is like really good to see from emerging artists.
Totally.
100%. It's amazing. I read an article the other day that I don't think people realize the spectrum there is of like, I guess, not circles, but sort of the range of theatre that there is, from like emerging companies to then the next scale, which are maybe a bit more well-established companies, and then the really established companies, and then like there's so many levels and they're all affected so differently, but it doesn't make any of them lesser than the other. It's just like such a big world. Such a big world.
It's like seeing the Edinburgh Fringe cancelled. Like that is so many opportunities lost for so many different levels of people. Like it's established artists as well as people doing their first, like even comedians doing their first free Fringe. Like it's people in hotel rooms doing their shows in a hotel room, people doing it in a bar. Like they've all kind of lost that first sort of things. The Fringes and it's insane for collaborating and for performing. Like it's a weird time we're living in right now.
Definitely. We'll get through it. I'm sure we will. We have faith.
So to round it up, obviously we've spoken about what you're doing, but just to kind of reiterate what people can expect from you, but what people can look to you for, and then also just maybe like a little rundown of all your different social media handles, as it were.
Oh yeah, I think so right now we've obviously spoken about it. We've got our Rocket Bytes digital season out at the moment, which is a new radio play every Monday at 2 p.m. is released, and that can range from 30-minute long radio plays to like 5-minute spoken word shorts. And I think what you can kind of really expect from that is, I think, a very intimate storytelling. I think what we kind of try and do is we try and think of new innovative ways to tell stories, and with each radio play I think that's us taking a new challenge to see how can we tell this differently. So that's something you can kind of try and spot out when listening to it, and that's available on our YouTube and our SoundCloud, which is all you can find all from our socials, which are, let me remember them, I think it's Instagram is at Rocketbox Theatre.
Yeah.
Facebook is at Rocketbox Theatre as well, but I think capital R, capital B, capital T. And then Twitter, I think is at _Rocketbox.
Okay.
You can tell I run the socials, so I'm just like...
My mind just went blank.
Bel doesn't touch them, it's me.
It's relatively similar. We've had some companies have really different names on each one. So.
It was hard with the Twitter. The Twitter was hard to get a name sorted.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us. It's been a pleasure to meet you both. We can't wait to have a listen to Rocket Bytes, and we hope many more people will find sort of comfort and inspiration from your digital season. So good luck.
Thank you so much. And to also just to finally reiterate, if there's anyone out there who's watching that has some work that they're passionate about, that wants to be kind of produced, we're always welcome to kind of, opening our emails and looking at any sort of work that, people are desperate to have a platform for. So yeah, I think that's quite a positive message to leave on. And yeah, just that we're kind of welcome to students and anything like that. Just keep spreading the message and the positivity.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure.
Bye.
Speak soon.
Bye. Thank you.